Hello and welcome back to Planet 40k. We've got another Space Marine review today coming from the Black Templar Codex supplement. This time we're looking at the Primaris Crusader squad. So one of the unique options within that supplement if you're playing Black Templars. So this jumps straight into this data sheet. There's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot of synergy and there's a lot of weapon upgrades. So we'll actually talk about the weapon upgrades later on in the video. Simply for screen space, I've condensed the actual datasheet here. So let's begin with the actual datasheet. So they're coming in at 10 power level or 19 points per model, or 16 points if you're taking the neophytes, which you will have to take some, and we will go over that in a second. So this datasheet comes in 3 different sections. So the first part is the Primaris Initiate. So you need at least 5 initiates, and you can have up to 11 of them, 19 points each as mentioned. You then need to have a minimum of 4 Primaris Neophytes, and you can have a max of 8 of those, and then you need the Sword Brother, who's effectively like the sergeant of the unit. So in terms of all their stats, they've all got a movement of 6 inches, weapon skill and bliss skill 3+, strength and toughness 4, wounds 2, attacks 2 except for the Sword Brother who has an attacks value of 3. The leadership ranges from 6 to 8, so as long as the Sword Brother is alive, the whole unit will have a leadership value of an 8. And then everybody except for the Neophytes have got a 3+ armor save, whereas those Neophytes have a 4+ armor save. So a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of the stat lines, but the Neophytes are 16 points, so they're 3 points cheaper per model. But as you can see there from the unit numbers, a min unit will actually be 10 models. It'll be 5 initiates, 4 Neophytes and a Sword Brother, and you can have a maximum of 20 in this unit. When you take 11 initiates, 8 neophytes, and again the Sword Brother. Now in terms of the abilities, they've only got Angels of Death. There's no other ability. They don't have the smokescreen ability like the Firstborn Crusaders do. But Angels of Death, we all know what that is. And they show no fear, to ignore the modifiers for the combat attrition tests. They've got the Bolt of Discipline, the Shock Assault for the extra attack, and Combat Doctrines for the extra AP. So the final part of this section of the datasheet is the faction keyword. So they've simply got the Imperium keyword, they're Black Templars of course. They're a core unit and they're a Primaris unit. So let's now look into the actual weapons. Again, there's quite a lot to get through here, so bear with me, because each different model has its own unique weapon. So the Primaris Initiates, they've got the auto bolt rifles with the frag crack grenades. So we'll go through them first. Let's try and keep this as simple as possible. So the auto bolt rifles, they're going to cost 1 point per model. They're 24-inch range, assault 3, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage. So in the tactical doctrine, they're going to be minus 1 AP, but you're only likely going to be having that open in the second battle round, because as soon as the third battle round comes, you'll want to change it to the assault doctrine. Then of course they've got the frag and crack grenades, which I'm not going to go over. I think everybody knows what they are. Now the Neophytes, they're equipped with a bolt pistol and a Stardust chainsword, and again the frag and crack grenades. Bolt pistol are very simple, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage, and the Stardust chainsword will be strength user, which is strength 4, minus 1 AP, 1 damage with an additional attack. Now bearing in mind that they've got 2 attacks base, they'll get 1 more for shock assault and then 1 more for the chainsword, so all the Neophytes are going to have 4 attacks on the charge, and they can fire that bolt pistol into combat for the remaining rounds that they're in that combat. Then finally we get onto the Sword Brother, who's equipped with a heavy bolt pistol and a power sword along with a frag and crack grenade. So the heavy bolt pistol is a longer range, 18-inch range pistol, and it's got additional AP to that. It's minus 1 AP, and of course that becomes minus 2 AP in the assault doctrine. And the power sword is strength plus 1, making it strength 5, minus 3 AP, and the damage is 1. But that will cost an additional 5 points. Now in terms of the war gear upgrades, the Sword Brother's power sword can be replaced with a power axe. So they also cost you 5 points, so it's effectively a free exchange once you've paid for the power sword of course. This is strength plus 2, making it a strength 6, minus 2 AP and 1 damage. So you get a bit of extra strength but you lose a bit of AP. Not too bad of a weapon, but it does depend on who you're going against. If you're going against toughness 3, it's probably more ideal because you'll be wounded on 2s. Now we can also swap out this heavy bolt pistol for a pyre pistol. So this will cost 5 additional points. It's only 12-inch range, pistol D6, strength 3, minus 1 AP, 1 damage, and it automatically hits. So again, toughness 3 models, this is going to be wounded on 4s. It's going to be much more effective against those kind of units, especially with its auto hitting attacks as well. Now all the Primaris Neophytes can have their bolt pistol and Astartes chainsword replaced with an Astartes shotgun or a bolt carbine each. So both of them are for free. The shotgun is 18-inch, assault 2, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage, and the bolt carbine is 24-inch range, assault 2, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage. So they've actually got the same stats, except the bolt carbine has 6 inches additional range. So you're probably wondering, why would I go for the shotgun? Well, you'll see later in the stratagem section why you maybe want to do that. Then any number of the initiates can have their auto bolt rifle replaced with 1 heavy bolt pistol and then a Stardust chainsword. So we've already gone through the heavy bolt pistol and the Stardust chainsword. Definitely want to be using using these kind of upgrades if you want to get the unit into close combat. Then finally, for every 10 models in the unit, up to 2 Primaris Initiates can have their auto bolt rifle replaced with one of the following options. So the Pyro Blaster, a heavy bolt pistol, or a power fist. So I've displayed all three on the screen there. We already know what the heavy bolt pistol is. Now the Pyro Blaster's 10 points as an upgrade is 15-inch range, assault d6, strength 4, -1 AP, 1 damage, and it automatically hits. So effectively a 15-inch flamer there. Quite nice that a max unit can take 4 of these within the squad. And the Power Fist is going to be 10 points per Power Fist. It's going to be strength times 2, making it strength 8, -3 AP, and it's going to be damage 2, and it's going to be -1 to hit using the Power Fist. Now note that is for every 10 models, up to 2 Primaris Initiates can take these. So if you've got a full 20-man Crusader unit, that means you can take 4 Power Fists within the unit, which is pretty remarkable, especially when you want to get into engagement range and get into a fight. That's all the war gear options for the Crusaders. So the loadouts all kind of depend on what you want to do with the unit. If you want to get them into melee, then you want to be putting these Astartes chainswords on all the models within the unit, apart from of course the sword brother. But if you wanted them to be camping on objectives or just being a mid-ground threat, maybe you would consider the shotguns and keep the auto bolt rifles on the initiates. But it's a very flexible unit overall with the weapon loadouts. Next, I just wanted to bring in some of their actual abilities in terms of the faction abilities, but you need to bear in mind that they're going to also have those. So for example, the chapter tactics, so they can reroll their advanced rolls, then their charge rolls, and they're going to have a 5+4 no pain save against mortal wounds, kind of standard there, and the new Templar vows with the supplement. Now there's 2 in particular that I quite like the look of. The first one being suffer not the unclean to live. So any unmodified hit rolls of a 6 will automatically wound a non-vehicle target. So with the amount of attacks that you're going to get from this unit, in fact, speaking of attacks, you can get up to 80 attacks on the charge if you kit them out all with the chainsword, so bear that one in mind as well. But any 6s will automatically wound. But a negative to that actual vow, they must charge the closest enemy unit within 12 inches. That's not already an engagement range. That's not really that bad. And the other vow, uphold the honour of the Emperor, which will give an army-wide 5+ invulnerable save, and they can't be wounded on a 1 or a 2. So strength 8 weapons are not going to double down, which makes them a lot more tougher as a unit. But then they're not going to be able to gain any benefits of cover. Again, that's not going to be the biggest deal. They're going to be wanting to get up front in the face and into melee. So let's check out some synergy with other units within the codex and the supplements. Starting off with a chaplain. Could be any of the chaplains. He's going to have the litanies of battle and the litanies of the devout. Now there's 3 litanies from the supplement that I've pinpointed today. The first one being the litany of divine protection. For a core unit that's going to be within 6 inches of the priest, they're going to get a 5+4 no pain save against all wounds as opposed to just mortal wounds with their chapter tactic. So you could in theory take the Templar vow, which will give them a 5+ invulnerable save, and then on top of that have a 5+4 no pain save against all wounds. The next one I like the look of is the Psalm of the Remorseless Persecution. So a core unit within 6 inches again, when they make a melee attack, any unmodified wound roll of a 6 will inflict a mortal wound in addition to the normal damage, to a maximum of 6 mortal wounds per phase. With a max unit with a lot of attacks, that should be quite easy to accomplish, so getting 6 additional mortal wounds, which regularly aren't going to get saved, is going to be a nice little bonus. And then the last one I wanted to talk about is the Fires of Devotion. So a core unit within 6 inches, if they made a charge, move, or charge, or heroically intervene this turn, until the fight is resolved, they're going to add 1 to their attacks characteristics of the unit. So again, if we were talking about 80 attacks on the charge with the chainswords, this will go up to 100 attacks. Pretty nasty. Another bit of synergy is the High Marshal Helbrecht, who's the chapter master for the Black Templars. He's got all the standard stuff with the Rites of Battle aura and the chapter master ability, but the one I quite like is the Crusader of the Wrath aura for core units within 6 inches, the +1 to their strength characteristic of the models in the unit. So now all of a sudden your Astartes chainswords are strength 5, even your power fists are strength 9 as well. But with this chapter master in place, they're going to be re-rolling 1s, and if he chose that unit, then they can be re-rolling everything, which goes quite nicely with those power fists in particular, because it's a -1 to hit with those weapons. Another bit of synergy is the Judicia, which will prevent opponents from fighting first in the fight phase if they're within 3 inches of the Judicia, so that's going to prevent any losses for your unit. And then an Apothecary as well to support the unit even further with the Combat Restorative's ability to regain wounds every single turn. You're only going to regain 1 lost wound because it's got 2 wounds per model, but they've also got the Narthesium aura for a 6+4 no pain save against normal wounds. That's nicely going to go on top of the 5+4 no pain save against mortal wounds. And then furthermore, the Combat Revival stratagem, if you want to bring one of your models back, it's probably served better on a more elite unit that's more expensive. For example, your Blade Guard veterans, your Terminators. If you want to do it with the Crusaders, you can also do that for a command point every single turn. or it'll be free if you're taking a Chief Apothecary. I wanted to bring your attention to one of the relics within the supplement, because I think it's got some real key synergy with this kind of unit, which is the Aurelian Shroud. So once per battle at the start of either of the player's command phases, the bearer can unveil the Aurelian Shroud. If they do, then until the start of the next command phase, the bearer has the following ability. So it's an aura ability. When core infantry units are within 3 inches of the bearer, models in the unit are going to have a 4+ invulnerable save. So just bear in mind that that's an aura, so you're not just selecting a single unit. So if you've got lots of units that are infantry surrounding this character, they're all going to have a 4+ invulnerable save, but that's a really strong relic to take for your core units. Now if you were to upgrade the unit with the relic bearers upgrades, there's some options here as well. Again, I've pinpointed 4 from this list that I quite like the look of. The first one being the Holy Orb, which is in the shooting phase. Enemy units within 6 inches invisible, they're going to suffer D3 mortal wounds on a 2+, and also they're not eligible to fight until all units have done so. It's another one of those fight first, fight last kind of deals, and it's only going to cost you 15 points for the entire unit to have that. Then there's the Crux Obsidian. So each time an attack is allocated to the model, they subtract 1 from the damage characteristics to a minimum of 1. So that means damage 2 weapons are not going to remove your models, it's going to be damage 3 weapons that are going to remove your models. So it's going to really make your opponent lose a lot of dice when it comes to the damage rolls, and that one's only 15 points. Another one is Icon of the Hindman. Any weapons with the AP characteristics of a -1 or a -2 that is allocated to your unit will turn to AP's dash as opposed to AP -1 or -2. So it's going to keep your 3+ armor save intact against those kind of weapons. That's 15 points. And the last one of note is Bones of Mordred, which is going to be 10 points, and when they make melee attacks, unmodified wound rolls of a 6 will inflict a mortal wound in addition to the normal damage. So again, we've already spoken quite a lot that they've got a lot of attacks on the charge, and there's lots of other ways to buff the amount of attacks they get, but this is just another one of those ways. Then finally, I've got a list of stratagems of note that are going to be worthwhile when you're looking at the Primaris Crusader squad. Now I did say there was a lot of info in this video, so I do apologise. I'm not going to go through these in great detail. I'm going to briefly just talk about what each one does. So the New Devout Push, so they can get towards the objectives. You've got the Vicious Riposte, to throw mortal wounds when you lose models. You've got the Transhuman Physiology, so you can't be wounded on less than a 4+. Quite standard from the Space Marine Codex, that one. Similarly, you got Gene Route Might from the Space Marine Codex, so they can auto wound on a 6 to hit. The Emperor's Will to advance and still fire. You got the Incendiary Shells to make your shotgun damage go from damage 1 to damage 2, which is the main reason why you would take shotguns over the bolt carbines. Even though they've got less range, you can use this stratagem for only a command point to get damage 2 out. Then finally, the Tenacious Assaults prevent an enemy unit from falling back on a 4+. In fact, there's one last bit of synergy with the Sword Brother, so the sergeant of the unit. There's actually 2 stratagems that combine really nicely along with the relic which comes within one of the stratagems. So let me go through this combination and explain what it means. So the first one is Revered Repositories. It's 1 command point, and a Sword Brother can effectively take one of the relics that are given in this list. So the one you look for is Sword of Judgment. So this turns his power sword into the Sword of the Judgment, which is strength +3, making it strength 7, -3 AP, and the damage will be 3. Don't forget, if you're going to be nearby the High Marshal Helbrecht, all strength goes up by 1, so that becomes strength 8 as well. And then if you take the Champion of the Feast stratagem for a command point, then your Sword Brother is going to get a +1 attacks and +1 to his wounds characteristics, and his weapon skill will go up by 1. So now he's going to be hitting on 2s of all those attacks with this Super Sword relic, so he's going to be a bit of a beast, especially when you've got 4 Power Fists within the group as well. You're going to have 5 really kitted out guys in combat that are going to be really hard to shift, and objectives secured, of course. So finally, we're going to get onto the summary today. Starting with the good, you can get max units of 20 models. That's 40 wounds total for that max unit. They've all got objectives secured. They're core, so they've got easy synergy with the Codex as well as the supplements. There's a potential of 80 attacks on the charge for a full unit, and that's before getting the chaplains involved, giving them more attacks or other methods as well. You can take up to 4 Power Fists in a max unit, as we just mentioned. Then of course you're going to be kitting out that Sword Brother as well with that relic sword to have 5 really decent models within that unit. Then we mentioned the stratagems. There's a lot of stratagem flexibility for this unit. There's a lot more stratagems that you could use. I've just mentioned the ones of note. Plenty more that work with secondary objectives, for example. All different ways to use the stratagems. And then finally, there's just plenty of weapon options, isn't there? Not as much as the Firstborn options, but there's still plenty for you. As for the bad, well, there's disadvantages of taking these over the Firstborn Crusaders. Firstly, you need to have a minion unit of 10 as opposed to a minion unit of 5. The Firstborn can have just 5, so it's a lot cheaper in terms of getting points for your secondaries and whatnot. And you are forced to also take 4 Neothrites, whereas the Firstborn Crusaders, you don't have to take any of them. They lose the smokescreen keyword, so you can't be using the smokescreen stratagem for 1 command point to be a -1 to hit And the Sword Brother, although he does have options, he just lacks options in terms of the Firstborn options. He can virtually have all the combi weapons, but as he's a Primaris model, he doesn't get those options. Now that they're a Primaris unit, they're not going to fit into the cheap transports. You can't get them into an Impulsor because a min unit is 10. You don't really have a budget transport option anymore, whereas before you could just put them in a Rhino, for example, or a Drop Pod. Now they're going to be too pricey to stay back and hold objectives, so you're going to need to be pushing forward with them. Which brings me on to the last point, are elite units a better option? When you've got your Blade Guard veterans, your Terminator Assault Squad for example, are they just a better option for pushing forward and taking objectives on the board? Now you would argue yes, you would argue no, because you can kit these out accordingly, but looking at the data sheet on a blank canvas, without any upgrades and any synergies from chaplains and whatnot, the elite options are probably better. So this is the part in the video where we normally do a shout out of the day when we look at the comments from the previous video, but I've recorded this straight after the High Marshal Hellbricks video, so I've not seen any comments yet because it's not out yet. But in the next Black Templar video we will be looking at the comments and there'll be a shout out on that next video. But as for today's video, we've got to give a rating for these guys. Now we normally do a rating out of 5, and for me they're top notch. At first glance I thought they were just kind of average, they were just kind of like a 3.5 star, but once you actually break the unit down and look at all the buffs and synergies that you can do with these guys, I think they're a top tier unit, so for me they're going to get a 4.5 star rating. So guys, do you agree with the rating? Let me know below. Tell me about your synergies as well. What do you do with these guys? Put that down below for us all to see as well. Remember to like the video and sub if you are new. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you next time.